Take this job and shove it.
This is Jobcast Radio, and I am Mike Baumgartner, your Work-Life Survival Sage, the Chief Executive Officer of the Work-Life Survival Center, and your host. If you've got a problem with your job, if you have a problem just getting a job, if you found something funky happening while you're being interviewed, your boss is a jerk, the company's doing something that just doesn't seem right, you're working overtime, you're not getting paid for it, you think you should, any of those kinds of things that you find happening in your job, you give me a call. My number is 304-867-4142. Again, 304-867-4142. Also, check out my website, jobcastradio.com. You will find blog articles. You'll find all sorts of information to help you find, get, and keep your job, because that is what we are here for in order to be able to survive this world, in order to be able to survive our jobs. Let's face it, companies have lots and lots of lawyers and attorneys and consultants and organizations that help them keep you in line. Who do you go to? Well, there's not a lot of resources. So if something funky's going on in your job, you need some help, give me a shout. Again, 304-867-4142. Or my website, jobcastradio.com. You can also find me on Twitter. And, of course, we have a fan page on Facebook. Feel free to connect to all of those, because all of it is free. Why? Because it's tough out there. Right now, look, I know that the unemployment rate is now being touted as being at 8.9%. And yes, there are some hiring there, and I've been saying that on some past show. Companies are starting to do some hiring. It's slowing, but another thing that you're going to begin to notice is that the work pool is beginning to shrink, or at least what they're measuring is beginning to shrink. That's because a lot of people, quite frankly, have stopped looking for jobs. That makes the pool smaller, and therefore the unemployment rate go down even more as people kind of drop out of the workforce, do side jobs, or do things that just, quite frankly, aren't being measured. So, what is going on in the world today? I have been talking with a lot of different agencies, a lot of different companies, and as I've said before, there is some hiring going on, but there is also some talk that companies are beginning to sort of performance manage the people that they have. Now, I'm not seeing that there are going to be a lot of layoffs going on, but there are workers out there who, as they see that things are beginning to get a little more relaxed, or are getting a little more relaxed in their job, and they're becoming a little less productive than when they were absolutely scared straight into working 15, 16 hours a day. So companies are beginning to notice that the workforce that used to be insanely focused is now a little less focused, and as a result, they're beginning to think, well, maybe it's time to replace individuals. Don't be one of those. Make sure that you are staying in contact with your boss, that you're checking in going, how am I doing? How are things happening? Don't wait around for that employee performance review to tell you you are doing poorly, at least in the sight of your boss or in the sight of your company. And if you're having trouble focusing on your job, look, I understand that. There is an estimate that I think it's 2.4 hours a day are spent wasted behind your desk because you are getting distracted in the workplace. Especially if you happen to have a job where people tend to walk through the front door because they need to talk to you, they have a random question, and you have projects that need to get done, and you have work that needs to get done, but things begin to start creeping into your day. People start scheduling 5-minute meetings, 10-minute meetings, half-hour meetings to just talk about things. And as a result, you're not getting all of your work done. So how do you plan your day so that this kind of stuff doesn't happen? It happens all the time. You can be in the middle of a project. You could be into, 30 minutes of a major project that's going to take you several hours, and somebody, knocks on your door, and they walk in, and there your concentration is broken. Or the phone rings, or you're one of those people who tends to look at emails every 30 seconds and responds to emails immediately. That's not a good thing. So if you have that happening to you, now is the time for you to begin to think about maybe changing some of your habits. And I wanted to talk about in this segment on how you should be looking at your work day and making sure that you're not getting those kinds of distractions that are making you less productive, or at least begin to make people think you're less productive, which gets you, again, on the list for either performance management or you might end up losing your job, because inevitably there's always somebody to the right of you who looks like they're a lot more busy or a lot more productive. And if your productivity is going down because you're getting distractions, whining to your boss doesn't work. But there are things that do. And here are just a couple of suggestions. This is just from me. These are things that I have recommended that people do in order to be able to make themselves more productive during the day. Especially, look, if you have a door, if you happen to have an office, that is a wonderful thing, because there is no crime. And I think people would actually respect you if you put up a sign on your door, working on a project, do not disturb, or work time, do not disturb. For those of you who are addicted and to Outlook, Microsoft Outlook and your calendar, however you do your calendar, blocking in time to work is a good and meaningful strategy. If you have nothing in your calendar, if the time between your two meetings is blank, you're really doing yourself a disservice. You should book in your calendar the entire day. Think about that. Now, you don't have to mark them in your calendar as you're not available. However, you want to be able to make sure that you are blocking in time to focus and work. Time between the time that you check even if when you check emails, here's the big thing about emails. Those of you who constantly have Outlook up, the moment an email comes, you're typing and you're responding. I get it. Some people expect Outlook to be a chat room. It's not. It's email. It's mail. Check your mail a couple of times a day, not all day long. Those of you who are doing that, you're doing it. Look, I get 200, 300 emails a day easy. And if I were to spend my time answering them as they arrive, I would get nothing done, period. However, if I block out a half an hour, 3-4 times a day to go through emails, respond to them, not just look at them. Remember, you only really want to touch a piece of paper or an email once. Find out, read it, respond to it, be done with it, and then move on with your day. Block out a few times. Look, if you need to put it in your calendar or put it in your email response that you only check email X number of times a day, and that if it's critical, pick up the phone, then do that. It's not rude. You're just defining the way that you do your work. Remember, it's about you being in control of your work. So block out time to work. Now, for those of you in cubes, I get it. You don't have that opportunity. But if there are conference rooms, if there are areas that you can go off to work, let your boss know about this. Thought rooms are beginning to start being a trend around certain companies where you basically can go in, shut the door, book a conference room for a couple of hours a day. Go in, shut the door where people cannot bother you to do the work that you need to do. If it gets really, really bad, when you go to lunch, get in your car, work from your car, if you happen to have wireless and you have that capability to do that. And I'm talking to you who are basically desk jockeys, those of you in cubes or those of you who are in offices. Block out your work time, block out your email reading time, block out a couple of times in there to get up, get out of the office, and get FaceTime with people. Remember, if you're in your office all day long, people will begin to say, what exactly does he do all day? Get out, meet people, talk to them, ask questions. If you don't have FaceTime, if you don't get that connection with people, it's going to hurt you as well. Make sure that you are keeping a log of the work that you are getting done. I guarantee you that when you begin to schedule out your day, as you begin to manage your programs out, and I understand there's lots of you out there who really don't like that much structure in your day. Put it in, you'll be much more productive, and you will look like you're busy. Why? Because you will be busy. You have to be able to do those kinds of things. Getting those disruptions out of your office and out of your day are absolutely necessary. Now, if you're in an environment where everybody is used to having open doors and people walk in and they chat with you or they want to have a conversation, that's fine. Close your door. Do not close your door all day. If you're reviewing your emails, leave the door open. If you're any kind of project where it's okay, somebody can walk in and ask a question, that's fine. But definitely make sure that door, for the most part, is open during the day so that people can see you and they know that you are approachable. But when push comes to shove, put a sign on the door, and don't ignore the sign factor. Let me explain to you just briefly why. If you shut the door and the door is closed, people are going to wonder what's going on in the office, whether or not you're working or whether or not you're doing solitaire. By putting a sign on your door that you are working on a project or you are focusing on certain productivity or a certain thing that needs to get done, they'll know what you're doing behind the door. Now, if you're not doing it and if you're not getting the work done, well, that's a whole different issue as well. We'll be back.
Take this job and shut it.